Hey everyone, Tiger Stacker here. Welcome to another edition of Stack-A-Lector. And today I am joined with my partner, Frostbyte, over there. Hey Frostbyte, I told you that thing would do that. It never listens to me. Anyway, hey Frosty, how you doing?
I am doing well. How you doing, brother?
Oh, I'm doing okay. Today we're going to be talking about what happened with the metals tanking. And it was so awful that our little friend Pippi Longstockings, ended up getting a wedgie. Did you see that face on that thumbnail?
Did you see the thumbnail, Surfer?
Oh my
if,
goodness!
if you go back and look at the thumbnail, you'll never have
let me
that
show
image.
you
Hold
that
on.
you're gonna get
Okay, now I
the
see it. Okay.
okay.
I do
Yeah,
remember
that's
those
funny.
days back in my past too.
So basically, it's gotten so bad that even kids are noticing. What'd your kid notice, Frosty?
So I'm glad you asked because Bifrost and I were talking about this, and she came up to me. She goes, "Dad, I got a question for you." And I was like, "What's that?" Because a couple weeks ago, she asked me to teach her a little bit about money. So stacking, collecting, understanding savings, putting a budget together. We've got a plan that she's taken a certain amount of classes, and the classes are paid for each quarter. So it's like she's been asking the right questions, and she came to me. She goes, "How much did you lose?" And I said, "Well, that's the wrong way to look at it, because if I go pull up my silver price chart for 1 year ago, I was at 37, so I'm still up $50. I'm doing pretty good." And she looked at me, she goes, "But everybody's complaining." And they're, I even some of the folks at her school are like, my parents are talking about these, $100,000, $150,000 losses. And I'm like, well, so they're not telling you about the $350,000 gain that they had up to this point. So they're thinking about it wrong. And that's one of the things that we talked about on Saturday. And I know, Surfer, I screwed you up with the whole time thing. Sorry about that.
Yeah, I was actually awake at that time. Unfortunately, it would have been.
But
my new puppy's on a schedule that defies all, cell phone, alarms and anything. So
yeah, but again, it's just one of those things where, if I can say anything, and I told this to my daughter, you never lose taking gains. And so I've pulled some out a little bit early. It continued to go up. But the metals, yeah, okay. So if I want to torture myself and keep my ledger of everything I've ever sold and compare it to everything I've ever kept, and I really want to torture myself, then yes, I can be as negative I want about the market. But if you take your ledger and you look at it, it's like, look, I sold it here. I made this much profit. Awesome. And I bought this and I made this much profit to date. You get a true test of what your worth is. So stop going back and looking at the past and saying, if I woulda, shoulda, coulda, woulda. Stop doing that to yourself. Stick to your strategy, know your plan, surround yourself with smart people. That's why Surfer's here with us. And come on, Surfer, you're supposed to laugh. Yeah, you can see how authentic that was.
Don't laugh like a pirate. That's going to get them all happy. Being
I was watching I was watching one of my pirate videos that I made earlier. So it's kind of sticking.
Yeah, but anyway, so that's. I'm glad you asked about Bifrost because again, I told her the same thing I told you guys on Saturday. Just do what you need to do. Go with the flow. Stick to your plan. Stick to your strategy, and move ahead.
Well, this is money, right? So you're storing money in its purest form. And sometimes you need money to go buy things. There you go. And it's really not about price. It's about conversion and not losing as much when the dollar goes down.
Yeah. So explain that a little bit further.
Okay, so when you look at what's happened to the dollar over time, we've lost 97% of its purchasing power. And when I tell people that, they kind of look at me and go, well, then the dollar's almost dead. No, the dollar's not going to, it's never going to die. Things just that those few pennies that are left can be stretched out for the next 100 years, 200 years, whatever. It all depends on how fast inflation goes. But basically, we've gone from having, I'll just use a candy bar. When I was a kid, I remember for a short period of time, candy bars were under 30 cents. And, now you go to a gas station and get a candy bar and you're paying, $3.50, $4 to $5. Depends on the candy bar, depends on the store. Same candy bar, actually it might be a little smaller. So it might be a smaller candy bar.
Shrinkflation.
But the price has gone up on that candy bar, right? And so what you want to do is you want to hold an asset that's going to go up faster and higher than the inflation rate and have appreciation to it. And that's what you're seeing here on my table, all this silver stuff. These coins have gone up in value drastically. I think most of these I picked up for around, $28 or so. And an ounce of silver today, where are we at right now? $80, $81?
83.03.
Okay, so it's starting to move up again right now. So 83.03 is what these are now worth. And could it go down in price? Yes, it could go down in price. I think it's going to be going up even more in price because I think people are starting to catch on to it a little bit more right now. And we've got some different fundamentals that are in the market today than we had in 2011 and in 1980. However, not everything goes up in a straight line. You're going to have pullbacks. And we've been talking about potential pullbacks for quite a while. I didn't expect it to go down 38%, almost 40% in one day. That was insane. And like you said, Frostbyte, I sold a couple of coins that I need to ship out today, or maybe they'll go out first thing in the morning. I sold a 10th ounce of gold on Thursday, and I also sold a 2 ounce silver coin that looks like a knight's helmet. And so I have stuff on eBay that sells. I buy, I sell, I move things around. And, the reality is when you need something, that's what this stuff's for. And had I just kept the cash instead of buying these coins, let's just call it $30 for the coins, I'd still just have a little over $30 sitting in my checking account. But now I've got a coin I can go and sell for around $80, $83.
Tiger, what are your thoughts?
Well, I've actually lived a little bit more than that. And just to recap, as I've done before, 2 Octobers ago, I came down with sepsis and had a pretty bad infection in the leg, and they fluid overloaded me. The leg was too big. Couldn't walk on it for about 2 months, had no income. I had to sell my silver at that time. Didn't enjoy it, let me tell you. All the hard work and effort that went into getting my stack, but on the other side of the coin, I realized that if I didn't have it, I'd be in deeper doggy doo-doo. So then I had another sepsis sometime later, not as bad. But then I was diagnosed with breast cancer and had to have the chemotherapy, and it's knocked me around. So I've actually been out of work for a little bit. So I've actually sold the silver, as little as I can to pay the bills, while I'm trying to rebuild my strength and get additional work. So I'm actually kind of tickled about it. And if you look at, we can find just something here. Let's find something more recent. We all should recognize what that is. So if you look at what I paid for it, $43.57. So even with the pullback, I'm plus or minus twice the amount I put into this back in August 23rd, 2025. So it would retain my purchasing power even at these rates. More so if I would have sold it at a higher rate, but I'm not interested in selling unless it's time to pay the bills and I've used up what I got. That means going up and going down. I'm dollar cost averaging. So that's how I play it. And I know we're going to talk strategy, but my strategy is real simple. If I don't have to sell, don't sell. When I do sell, pay the bills and keep working hard to try to get employment again as I'm regaining my strength. Once I'm got employment with what little bit of extra money I get left over, I'm going to start replenishing my stack. Okay. And me being a workaholic, I dollar cost average out of necessity. It depends on how much money you have left over and when I have the freedom to go buy it, whether it's local, online, or whatever. So that's how I play it. And in my situation, I don't have another choice. If I was being the workaholic, I might have the choice as far as money goes, but I wouldn't have the availability as far as time goes, because the two of you know me pretty well. Sometimes those ERs leave me wiped out. I've got nothing left, so there's no energy to even get on an online dealer and look at everything. So that's how I play it. How about you, Frosty?
I think you said something really important. And again, we've all talked about this. You've heard the series stackers talk about it, dollar cost averaging.
Yep.
Right. That's the important thing, right? Buy when you can, buy what you can afford. Don't go above it. And yeah, you can try to buy low, sell high. It's fun when it works, but you get caught with your pants down just as much as you win. So just be prepared to lose if that's your strategy, right? That's just the way it is. But remember that when you have a strategy, your strategy can implement all three of your passions, right? So you can collect wisely numismatic coins. We talked about that. You showed that one. Share that one with a little privy on it that you had your backdrop, Surfer.
Oh yeah, here we go.
Right? Great example of a coin that you had that when silver was up didn't increase value. It moved a little bit, but it did not move much because the value isn't in the silver. The value is in the numismatic collectability. Now that silver is dropping, it's a great time to sell that particular coin. And so this is where numismatics can act as a hedge, just like silver and gold can, if you do it properly. And you have to understand sometimes you're going to lose. And, not every coin you buy can be a winner. That way there would be no winners at all. And so, that you guys know where that original quote comes from, right? If everybody's special, then that means nobody is.
But everybody's
So,
not
okay. it's just another commodity, right? So treat it as such. Understand that it will try to bite you. It is a vicious animal. It is volatile, but stick to your strategy. And I collect what I like is not a strategy, folks. Sorry. That is a thing. So just be careful doing that. Surfer, insights?
Yeah, here's the insights I'll give you guys. Goals are really important. You got to figure out why in the world are you doing this thing in the first place, okay?
Agree.
I've had a few people make comments about, wow, I'm really screwed. I just started stacking and I bought at the top. I don't know what to do. That comment is expected from someone that's new, that's just figuring this out. But hopefully before they bought, they started to build a strategy around what am I buying this stuff for? What am I doing? Now, you can see the coins that are on my table here. I like ships. So I put a bunch of the ships on, and then you've got a little dragon. You're the dragon. That's something I bought at a coin show when I have a booth, and I paid, probably 5% below spot price for that. And then the golden one is a kilo of silver that's gilted in gold. They've only made 99 of those. To me, that was a really cool piece. There's a reason I like the Aztec calendar. My dad lived in Guatemala for a while, so there's kind of a draw to that. And it's a numbered piece. I don't even care what the thing's worth. It's just a cool thing I'm going to pass on to my kids. I like collecting the ship coins. I also don't care what those are really worth right now either, because they just go in my deep stack. But
the same way. Ship coins. We're both are right there. We have a fun story about ship coins, by the way.
I'll let you buy a few of mine. They took a year to get there almost.
Yeah, you guys are into the ships. I'm more into the airplanes.
So tigers and the airplanes. So, but here's what I say with it. I call myself a hedge stacker. Okay, a lot of people in the community are prepper stackers, and so they just go for weight. And their plan is they're going to use it for money when everything falls apart and society falls apart. I have a little bit of a different philosophy on that. I have a way of preparing for a scenario like that, but I see it differently. And I call myself a hedge stacker for different scenarios. So coins like the one behind me here still have a place. And it's about how you buy these, okay? You don't want to be paying top dollar for these. You want to buy these when they first come out. You go get them graded, and then you hold on to them, and it becomes a hedge if prices go down. Now, I sold my Privy coin. So I bought this for $105. And then I opened it up, and it turns out that that coin, once you get it graded, and we got it graded as a 70, became worth $6,800, and I sold it. That's an awesome ROI. And so, we got lucky with that. We had 5 of us doing it. I split it among the 5 of us. Each of us made about $1,000 profit on it. It was a fun little exercise to do on YouTube. But with other coins that I have like this too, you got to buy it super low so that as the price goes up, you lock yourself into some profits. It's a flip. Or you're going to hold on to it for a rainy day. When prices come down like this, these coins have not changed the price at all, even though silver's dropped. And they continue to get pushed up just a little bit as silver went up. And eventually they'll leapfrog, right? So if silver gets up to the price of what you're selling a coin like this for, obviously the coin's going to go for more. It's going to push it up higher, but the percentage is not as big as if you just had silver rounds. So you got to have things for different reasons. I have silver rounds. I have silver bars for just the weight. I've got constitutional silver for the weight. And then I have things these are not collectible, the coins that are on here. It's kind of collectible for the gold one, but it's still not really a collectible coin. It's more of just a fun art piece. And I have pre-33 gold, some rare, some of it's pretty common. And each one of those things has a different purpose, and there's a different time I'm going to sell it and use it. And some of it's just going to pass on to my kids. When I hold silver bars, those are usually held for some kind of a future purchase, like a car, or to put into a property I want to buy. And then what history has shown us too is with recently, constitutional silver has lost a lot of its value when people were trying to sell it because there was just so much of it going on the market. That was not the stuff to sell if you needed to sell. You wanted to be selling silver bars. They had the highest premium at the moment, or silver eagles. So I think it's good to have a mix of things. Now, I don't think it's good to have 10,000 different kinds of coins. Okay, if you have 10,000 coins, and most people don't have 10,000 ounces of silver, but it's just an example. You want to keep it to fewer SKUs, but you can have different SKUs that do different things. And that's what I try to do. And I call that hedge stacking.
Understood. So let me ask you, I have a Wolverine error coin and 3 Lady and the Tramp error coins that I bought from Stormy. And I've toyed with the idea of selling them, but being that they are error coins and they have a little bit of collector value to it, I'm a little clueless on how to offload it, how to exit out of it.
The only place I know where you can really sell that's going to be on eBay.
Okay.
You could take it to Stack's Bauer. They could try to do an auction for it too. I've got a Lady in the Tramp error coin that's up there right now. I'm probably going to drastically drop the price of it because I don't really want it. And I'll still get I'll still get more ounces of silver for it than if I just bought silver at that time. But I will take a little bit of a hit. Let me rephrase that. I'll take a little bit of a hit selling that from if I had just bought silver rounds at the time, but I can drastically increase my weight by selling it today.
Okay.
And what happens right now is people are looking at those coins and they felt like they were getting more and more affordable the higher the price of silver gets. And so people will make offers, but they'll make lowball offers. Right now, you've got an opportunity to still make some good money off of it, sell it, and then go turn it into more ounces. And you can get more ounces today than you could have on Thursday.
Because of the drop in the price.
Because drop in the price. Now, granted, the online bullion dealers have not really lowered their price. You're still paying $90 to $95 for a silver eagle, even when the price was down at 71 earlier today. They know that this is highly volatile. They're waiting for it to kind of stabilize. And they've got to start rebuying supply at a much lower price before they're going to heavily discount their silver. So in essence, the spot price is decoupled from physical silver price. Now, you might get lucky and find an unsophisticated coin shop that's still just looking at Kitco going, I guess this is what I have to sell my stuff at. But the more sophisticated ones are not lowering their price drastically. SD Bullion would be maybe an exception. I saw they did take it down a little bit. But AppMax hasn't really moved it a whole lot. eBay has not moved a whole lot. Their prices are still pretty high. And they don't have as much of a dynamic pricing like system that's already set up like SD Bullion does. So you got to shop around at this time to find the good deals. But it's also a great time to be picking up numismatic coins too, because you might be able to get some great deals on them.
Yeah, I've seen a lot
It
of
was
that.
a great deal. Sorry, Tiger, go ahead.
I've seen a lot of that where, they're in, the generic store, the generic bin, even at the pawn shop or even online with different YouTubers when they go to their coin shops. The generics that weren't generics at that time are now generics because of the spot price.
All those ship coins are generic. Nothing special about them.
Unless they are from the Canadian Mint or Palau or something like that. Most of the other ones are just generic rounds.
Yeah, I mean, this
the
one
ones that are
a little bit of a premium.
Yeah, so there's that one and the one to the right of it, which is the HMS Bounty, right? So the HMS Bounty and that coin are both, one is Canadian and one is London, if I'm not mistaken. So,
well, this is the Cuddy Stark. It's on the other side.
That's a cool one though. I like that ship.
Indian Ocean territory.
Yeah, but the one in the middle, that's the HMS Bounty.
Yep, and then you got this guy here too. This is the St. Vincent, and the.
I've got that one colorized.
Beans.
That was a really beautiful coin.
So what I'm saying though is these, at the higher prices, are basically generic coins. You're not going to get a massive premium on top of that. So the premium may be the same exact as it was when these came out. So they may have had like a $5 premium when they were selling these originally, on top of buying a silver round. And recently they've still only had a little bit of a premium on top of it. If you look at what's sold, okay, people will sometimes ask crazy amounts for it. What I'm learning from this whole process of how fast it went up and coming down here too is this. If you're looking to sell silver in a shorter period of time, you really need to stick with weight, generic, and the cheapest stuff you can buy. If you're wanting to collect and hold on to coins, you want to buy them as soon as they come out so you can get the lowest price. And then if you're wanting to find some really rare pieces that could end up appreciating a lot, you have to have a lot of patience. So, one of my theories is I think we're going to get to a point where it's going to be very hard to buy gold and silver in the future. And it'll be harder to buy bullion. And I think that's when you're going to see like the pre-33 and the Morgan dollars that are graded start to take off and have another period of time where they have a lot of appreciation. And that's either going to come from one of two things. Either we have more GDP growth and people are making more wages again, so they have more disposable income. Or we're going to have the wealthier people coming into the market that don't want to hold, these massive silver bars. Like, I'll show another visual here, like these in their house. And they would rather have,
Dude, I need to hang out at your house.
Coins. That is not my house. If you come here, you will be sorely disappointed. If you come to my house, this is what I got for you. I got a bunch of clad $50, okay? Because I'm very unlucky when it comes to doing coin roll hunting. I haven't found anything yet. Even when I finally, after scouring for 2 years, the same Coinstar machine, it finally had change in it. It was all clad. I got, $3, and it still wasn't enough to buy a flipping candy bar at the grocery store. How's that?
Hey, did you see my one video where I got a silver dime at a laundry shop?
I don't know if I saw that one.
Okay. I couldn't believe it. I looked at the date and I'm like, did something fall out of my travel coin roll? And I went back to the house. No, the number was exact. I didn't. In fact, my tape was still on it. So I realized I got it at the coin shop, not the coin shop, at the laundromat. So
it is. So, all these things are different and they have different purposes. And they're going to go in cycles. When I hear someone say no one is ever going to want junk silver or constitutional silver again, hurry and unload it, I think to myself, you haven't been doing this very long and you don't understand the patterns. And when I hear people say pre-33 gold's over, no one wants it, it's just going to basically be worthless, I think you also don't know what you're talking about.
That's a bad call because pre-33 has been the best buy. Yeah.
Yeah.
It's a cycle. So when everybody's saying that, guess what? That's when you buy it. Right now, I've been buying as much junk silver as I can because if people hate it and I can buy it for $15 under melt, I'm going to buy that. And guess what? I'm still okay on the price, even with it coming down. It's like
I found that works on everything. With the constitutional. When I've listened to Robert Kiyosaki saying when everybody else is doing something, do the opposite. I heard the same thing said by Rick Rule. It's just like the people who really know how to make money work for them say, do the opposite of what everybody else is doing.
Yep. And so, like what I'll point out here, this is a huge wave. Like, I don't know that that's even real, that someone's surfing that. Because if that falls on you, you're dead. What is that? Like, that's over 100 feet, right? That looks like it's over 100 feet.
So it's about a 50-foot wave. We've seen those in North Shore.
Yeah. If you see that at North Shore, you need to back up a little bit from the parking lot. So, a wave like this is interesting because when I pick the name Stacking Surfer, I do surf. I'm not surfing anything like that because I actually care about my life. And I'm not that much of a daredevil. I mean, it might be kind of fun to try to do something like that, but I think that's just being way too risky. But a wave like this is what I'm seeing with gold and silver coming. Okay, I think we've already started to see it. So what happens when waves come, and Tiger, you'll know this from being a scientist too, waves come in a pattern, okay? And there's like a peak wave in the middle, and there's a few smaller waves that build up, and then there's one big one, and then it slows down a little bit, okay? That big wave in the middle, we haven't hit that yet. We've had smaller waves that are getting bigger and bigger and bigger. And the reason I use the wave analogy is each one of those waves you're going to ride in. And if you're riding in, that means you're doing something, right? It's an action. So it might be taking some silver you bought lower and moving it into gold, or buying gold and moving it into silver, playing the GSR. It might be that you're selling some of it to pay debts off as it goes higher. And kind of what Frostbyte was saying too, if you try to time this, you're going to miss it. I was getting ready to unload some silver and some gold because I purchased more than I necessarily wanted to, but I found the coins I was looking for. And I tried to do it on Thursday. And we had no cars I could go anywhere with, so I just didn't worry about it. And then Friday hit, and I'm like, crap. Now I got to wait a little bit longer to make some of those sells. Some of it was going to go to fiat to pay for like a new car that we need. And the rest of it was just going to turn into maybe mining stocks, or I was going to switch it into other product. So based on that, my plans change a little bit, but it's okay. I didn't need the money to pay the bills. I wasn't going to die. So, you got to be smart about how you're putting all this together, and you've got to be smart about having different allocations of metals for reasons. Okay. Now, it becomes more important the higher percentage of your net worth is put into metals. It becomes more important to have that strategy.
Okay. So I want to address something that's in chat real quick. Hey, Steve, he's like, I just bought some silver and gold today. I hope I don't lose my ass. Dollar cost average, brother. Dollar cost average. That's all I can say. It could go up. It could go down. I'm leaning towards the opposite of what Surfer's saying. I'm thinking it's going to go down a little bit more before it goes back up. I think it goes up long term, but I don't think we're going to see these massive increases. I think it's going to be more of a roll. But I think we're going to see a lot of what we saw in 2008 and 2011. I think our downward trend is going to match more like 1979, 1980. I think we're going to have that same basic pattern, and it's already setting itself up to look pretty similar. The question is when it hits those two solid floors, what's going to happen? You know, we talked about that floor, and again, Tiger, pull up my charts, if you will.
Hold on, working on it.
So here's where silver's at today. These are the pictures, 1979, 2011, and today. And if you look at the peaks of these, you're going to see something. You're going to see either a straight up or a straight down, but there's a rollout, or a roll up into.
Where do you think we are in those charts today, Frostbyte? Because
so if I was looking at this, I think we're right here in this chart. I think we're right. Whoops, my mouse stopped. I think we're right here in this chart. And then obviously this is where we're at today. So I think what we're going to see, and again, if we look at this, I think we're going to see an up. I think we're going to go back up. It's going to go down. We're going to see the down. This down here, it's obviously it's not here yet, but I think this down here is going to be dictated on how well we recover from some of this stuff. And there's a whole lot of stuff engaged in that, right? What is JP Morgan doing? What is, what's the dollar moving? What kind of political moves are being made? We have Warnke that just got positioned at the Fed. What happens in his first few days there? What happens with the media? There's a whole lot of other stuff that's being affected to it. Government shutdown, right? Furlough happened today. So there's a lot of things that can be affected by this. And again, I'm not trying to call anything. My job here isn't to forecast anything. I just know my play. I know what I'm going to do. I'm not suggesting to anybody to follow me, because don't. Making a call, this is what happens. If you happen to get lucky and you get it right, you look like a genius. And if you get it wrong, you look like everybody else. So
real quick, Frostbite, I want to show you where I think we're at, because I think we're on the other side of that peak.
Okay.
But I can't see. Okay, there we go. Can you go back to the chart real quick, Tiger?
I have to have Frosty send it back to me.
Oh, sorry. Go ahead.
Hold on, waiting for it. Got it.
Okay. Sorry.
And then I've got some screens I can show you guys to give you some indication why. Okay, so if you go to the far left chart, I think go down, go to the left. I think we're right there. Up a little higher. I think that's where we're at. I don't think we've seen the peak, and I think we have a lot higher gains to go. However, and I don't know which of these two charts is going to play out. I don't know if it's going to be a steep up and a steep down. It seems like it's kind of heading that way. And it's hard to say exactly how it's going to come out on the other side. But that's where I think we are. I think we still have a huge upside to go, because we've broken out of the 45-year cup and handle. But we haven't really seen the upside of that cup and handle yet. It should take us up into the $300 range in order for us to do that. Once you get above $300, now you're going outside of from the trough to the peak of the cup, and you're starting to get to a point where we're going beyond the technicals. But that's where I think we're at. So I think we still have a huge upside coming up. And then I think there's going to be a period of time where it comes down. And I think that's probably going to happen over the next couple of years. But I could be wrong. We could be on the other side of it too. We could also have it go skyrocketing up here, and then we could have it skyrocketing down, or we could have it slowly, kind of selling off like in 2011. The key is you don't know what's going to happen. You don't have a crystal ball. You don't have a time machine.
That's fact. And that's exactly what I want to end with. Not that we're over with, but I'm talking as far as the discussion with the charts. Use your charts. And Tiger, you and I have talked about this. Surfer, you and I have talked about this. OC and I have talked about this. You cannot look at stock or metals charts without understanding fundamentals.
Yep.
You have to know if you're going to be buying stock or if you're going to be buying paper or anything, you can't just buy it and go, roll the dice and throw it out there and drop your money on whatever you find. You need to look at the valuation of the company, find out how much inventory they have, find out how much of that inventory is liquidated, how much of that is they bought it because they wanted to raise their number so that they could meet their quarterly sales number. How much of that is cash on hand? How are they doing with employee satisfaction? How are they doing with customer satisfaction? How were their peak sales? And if you don't know some of these things and you're investing, you're throwing money away. So know the fundamentals of things. Really look at it. Check and find some of these things and ask yourself, where do I think it is? Guess what? One of us, all of us are going to be wrong at one point in this process. But this is just life. It's not, hey, you know what? You got that wrong. It's like, oh, damn, you got that right. What were you looking at when you did that? What gave you that idea? And then see if you can replicate it. The next time, guess what? You probably won't. Something weird is going to happen and it won't match up the same. But find your pattern, find your strategy, find those things that work for you. And if you want to listen, and I love him to death, but I can't stand trying to invest and follow his strategies. But Jim Cramer, right? Sell, bam, 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 bam. He's hitting those buttons and he's fun as hell to watch. But he's FOMO for him. It's like, dude, he's selling FOMO, right? That's exactly what he's doing. He's a glorified salesman. You watch him 30 days later, he drops money into a stock, that he shorts it. And all of a sudden people lose their ass.
And he doesn't tell you when he's changing crap either is the problem. Even his newsletter doesn't get it fast enough.
Yeah. And so, but again, I like Jim Cramer. Don't get me wrong. I really do. He's a funny guy. Anybody who manages over $1 billion has got to have some sort of sound financial knowledge.
Yep.
So find those people that you like, find that strategy, stick with it. Surround yourself with good community, folks. This is why Surfer's here. It was like, hey, you weren't there Saturday. He's like, oops. And I'm like, well, why don't you
message? I said, I'm ready to go. And you're like, it's over.
Yeah. And I was like, I think I screwed you up. And, but again, surround yourself with people like this when the conversation matters, right? That's why we had the conversation Saturday. It's like, hey, perspective. Now I'm going to go back to this and I want to show something that was shown last night. When you look at this long haul and you say, oh yeah, there was a drop in silver. Well, if you look at what's happened just in the last few hours, it's up, right? So let's change this. Let's do this. Let's make that a little bit bigger. So let's go to the chart and let's look at what happened in 2025. We're right here right now, folks. How are you guys doing for the year? Unless you bought at the very, very top, you're doing pretty well.
Well, I think you said we're at 83, so we're at the green line right above your cursor, right?
Yeah, well, right there. Sorry.
Yeah, right there.
Yeah.
Yeah.
71 was the what it dropped to. That was the low for today.
Well, Frostbyte, one thing I'll just throw out there too is the easiest strategy in this whole thing is to dollar cost average your buys.
Yep.
And never sell until everything falls apart and there is no money and this is the only money and you happen to have a bunch of it, right? Or you die and pass it on to your family. That's the easiest way to do this whole stacking thing. You don't have to worry about the price going up or down. You just buy on a regular basis, like every Friday or every Tuesday or Tuesday every other week or once a month, whatever. That's the easiest way to do that. When I see people starting to say, hey, I just bought and I'm freaking out, prices will be higher in 100 years from now, guaranteed. Okay, no problem with that. If we still have the dollar around. So it really comes down to what are you trying to do? Why are people, when people are freaking out about they bought the wrong thing, I feel like they're always planning to sell it pretty fast. And if that's the case and you're trying to do something like that, you're in the wrong thing. We're in volatile assets here. They do move up and down, and especially if you're in physical, it takes a while to sell it. There's other forms of silver you can own to do that. But my question to you, Frostbyte, is depending on where we're at on that chart, if we're early or if we're late in that cycle, Does your strategy change? Does anything change for you? Because what if it does go up to $300 or $500, or what if it doesn't do that and it goes back down to 30? How does that change for you?
If it goes up, so again, I pulled the plug on $500 worth of silver today. It wasn't a big buy, but Hero Bullion had 5 Buffaloes silver rounds at spot, 1 per household. Jumped in on that early this morning, got that. It's a good deal, right? I think I got it $74 per coin, so not too bad. If it drops to 40 and stays there for a while, dollar cost average, I'm still good. Not a big deal, right? So strategy unaffected. Here's where I have a problem, and this is why I'm talking so much about this. As I talk to people and I see these articles and I'm like, ooh, this guy's like, now's the time to buy. I'm like, did I miss something? What am I not doing? And so I start questioning my strategy. And I start evaluating things based off of FOMO. Don't do that, right? And I've got people that they call me, Surfer, you and I have a really good friend, has the same thing, talks about stories of what his dad used to tell him. And he's like, the masses are asses. If you're not doing what they're doing, you're probably doing something right. So stick to your strategy. If you have something, and what I realized, and this was something I had an epiphany, and I called Tiger and I called you and I called some other people, and I said, I'm listening to people in chat. I'm watching people comment on videos. I'm listening to them in streams. People are looking for, what do I do? What do I do? What do I do? And the answer is, if you're asking that now, it's a really good time to identify a strategy and say, all right, let me stop listening to the FOMO. Let me stop listening to the guys who are the bullion owners, right? Stop listening to and really focus on what is good, sound economic strategy. What is the smart move? Talk with an investor, talk with a finance person. Say, if you were looking at this, and again, a good friend of mine told me, he says, Frosty, why would you sell your number one asset? It's dropping, but you're still freaking up 4 times value. What the hell are you thinking? Your dollar cost average is 28. It's $84. Why would you sell your greatest asset? And it's like, well, yeah, when you say it, it sounds really dumb. Right? But it's an epiphany. And so find and identify a good strategy, really genuinely, and then just stick with it. Evaluate it from time to time. Surround yourself with some people you can trust and ask. And when your opinions differ, okay, that's fine. No problem. It's not a he said, she said, he wins, she loses, or she wins, he loses. It's, what did you see? This is an opportunity to talk to them. And what did you see that I didn't? This is how you'll learn. This is how you become smarter at finance. So talk, strategize, but don't react. Do your homework and then make a decision. That's acting.
Can I show you guys 3 screens?
Fire.
I'm trying to. It says, before presenting a screen, remove all other media streams from the stage. All other media.
It's already off stage.
Boom. Bye-bye. Go for it.
If you double click the 3 dots, it should allow you to put that on up on the screen. Edit
name, kick from the studio, ban from the studio.
Well, that sounds drastic.
Hold on. Is this one?
Yeah.
Okay.
Keep it on here. I'm going to show you guys a few things. I just want to
hold on real quick. Tiger, say I ran around the house and then spilk up.
Why would I say something stupid? I don't even know what that means.
You know that one, Surfer, from being a kid?
I don't know that one.
Say I ran around the house and then spilk up.
I'm not going to do that.
It's like I ran around the house to CUP. Sorry.
Okay, got it.
Oh, okay.
I still wouldn't do it right. Yeah, we did do that stuff as kids. But okay, so I want to point out a couple things to you guys. Okay, so you can see 19. Hopefully, you can see my cursor. Can you see my cursor?
Yeah.
So you can see 1979 here, and this is the start of this 45-year cup and handle. Okay, officially is this mark point here, but depends on if you want to go all the way over here or not. You can see all of these. You can see this big up. You can see these dips, right? These drops, and then you see these ups and you see these drops. This was a time when we were going into coming out of a big inflationary period of time. Okay. And then you've got additional inflation coming in here big time in 2008 with all the money printing that started going on. But if you really look at it, it kind of started back around 2000 to some degree. And then you've got this handle that formed here. So typically what you do is you have to see if this green line breaks out here. It has to come down and test it, which was around 50. On this chart right now, they're showing it about 55 or
48.
so. But yeah, it's around 48, 50.
Yeah.
It went up, it came back down and tested it, and it stayed there for a little bit, and then it broke out. Okay. And so you can see this red line here. This is before that actually happened, and he wasn't sure how long it would take, right? We already blew past these numbers up to 115, almost 120 here. And I'm going to show you another chart in a second, but typically what you do in technical analysis is you go to the bottom of this cup and you go to the top of it, you draw a line, and then you bring it up on your chart and you go up to the top. So I'm going to take us through a couple of these real quick. Hopefully you guys do not get sick watching this.
There's a lot of people who don't like that sound. Sorry, I should not say that.
Yeah, but you just did a little fast.
Okay, so I'm going to show you a couple more on these charts. This is why you want to have a few different people you look at with charts. Another one I'll just show you guys real quick. We're in a new time with gold where for a long time the central banks were not holding gold. Okay, and now we're going back to a point where we're now holding just a little bit more gold and silver. The question is, are they going to go back up to holding 40%, 60% in gold? We don't know. But those are things to watch for. That's gold. Let me find the silver one. So this is the updated silver one from the same analyst. And you can see these lines that he draws here, the black lines. And so this is the first run that we had. This is a big cup here. This goes back to the 1800s to 71. And then this is the cup and handle. We've just had the 45-year one, right? Here's the cup, here's the handle as he draws this out. So he's looking at this. If we have the same percentage increase, okay, which he's not saying we necessarily will, but we were pretty close to having the same amount on these two here. We could be at $400 to $500 silver. And we're just barely breaking out of this cup and handle. That's why I believe we're early to it. Now, if I'm wrong, and in Frostbyte, the way you're looking at it, if we're kind of on that back end of it, then you got to be more cautious in buying, above these points, right, that we're at today. If you think it's going to 400 to 500, well, then it's still super cheap. And so, part of the thing is you got to make a decision on where's this going? What do you believe? Whose charts do you like? And you got to be careful not to just like the narrative. And, obviously $500 makes a lot of sense. But when I look at things like this, I think we're in a commodity super cycle that's going to go for a decade. And I think we're just barely into it, about a year into it, maybe a year and a half into it. And you can see all of the metals did really well last year. Okay, even aluminum went up. And so I think that's kind of where I'm thinking we're at now. I could be wrong. These analysts could be wrong as well. But we do have some technicals to back us up. And the last one I just wanted to show you is this. If we're having a capital rotation, which is one thing that Kevin Wadsworth from Bad Charts, Bad Charts. I'm going to screw it up again. I'll have to look at it. This is another Percy Jesse Colombo, but this is right here. He's looking at these capital rotations. If we have a bunch of money that's going to be leaving the stock market and going into precious metals or commodities, and you have to remember it could also go into crypto. And you look at what happened in 1980, we're nowhere near there. So this is a person saying, hey, we have the ability for things to go much higher. Okay. He's not necessarily calling for a $2,800 silver. He's just saying we've barely had a rotation here. So if you believe there's a capital rotation, we should see it go, significantly higher. It's just a comparison. So, at the end of the day, it's not, it's not trying to figure out who's right, who's wrong. It's analyzing the different stories that are out there, trying to understand why people are telling different stories. You look for consensus. You look to see, what people are doing. And I'll stop my screen there, Tiger, if you want to bring us back up.
For those of us who don't know that terminology, what is a capital rotation?
Okay, so a capital rotation is when money chases a different asset class. So what you'll find is they kind of go along in decade-long periods of time. Bull runs for gold tend to go for about a decade. However, if you ask some people, they'll tell you that the bull run started back in the 70s. Depends on who you talk. I've heard a few people say that we're kind of at the end of this big, huge, massive bull run. But typically, if you look at that chart that Frostbyte had on there, you're looking kind of like at 10-year periods of time of what they usually kind of chart out on there. And so what is believed to be happening is that money is going to flow out of the stock market and into commodities and into potentially cryptocurrencies. And as that money flows in there, those assets go up. And so, the way to kind of think of it is, if you've got a surface that you think is pretty flat and water comes into it, you'll find out pretty quickly where the low spot is. The water's going to pool there. And so think of the money like water, and those little holes that might be in the floor are the things that, are hated and not really invested in right now. So if you go back to silver just a couple years ago, when we were looking at like $18 silver, it looked like it was pretty cheap to a lot of stackers. We were buying it. The rest of the world didn't really catch on to it until we broke out of the cup and handle at around 48, $50. And when that happened, that's when they started to pay attention to it, and you had a run up. And that's where the FOMO really kicked in. Are we going to have more FOMO runs is really the question there. Are we really going to have a capital rotation? If you believe, yes, money's going to leave the stock market, go into metals, then I think we're at the early side of that peak. On the other hand, if you don't think a lot of money is going to be moving out of the stock market into metals, and this is just a peak that's kind of following what we just did, then we could be going down a lot lower and staying down there. So, to Frostbyte's point, you got to understand the fundamentals. You've got to understand where the patterns are. And you've got to make a decision and a stance on what you're going to believe and which direction you're going to go. If you listen to Harry Dent, you might be very depressed. That guy's probably the most depressing person I've ever heard on a show anywhere. And he thinks we're going to go into an everything crash. And so he's telling you to buy US T-bills. And that's where you should put all your money and in cash, because the stock market's going to crash, crypto market's going to crash, the metals are going to go way down. And there's going to be this opportunity to buy everything super cheap. That's one narrative. He kind of is the only person that does that. And you look at people like Rick Rule, they've sold a lot of their silver. I think he sold half his silver position to put into silver miners.
Yeah, I saw that. Miners
are going to go significantly higher. Well, the silver miners aren't going to go significantly higher if the price of silver doesn't go higher. So it just depends on, the different analysts. And that's why, like on my channel, when I bring people on to interview, I try to bring a mix of ideas and kind of paint a story and a picture for people, because you got to figure out what you're going after. And it's okay to be wrong. It's okay to screw up. You can fix it. Okay. None of the stuff that we're showing you here is going to zero. So you're still going to have value in it. I don't think they're going to stop printing US dollars. I don't think the debt's going to go away. I don't think we're going to have an asteroid of silver and gold land in the ocean that we can use. I don't think we have the technology to even come close to mining the stuff in space yet. Not even CERN can basically create gold or silver. They've tried and they can't figure it out. And so when you look at all these different factors that are out there, and we have more industrial use, that's where I'm still pretty bullish on gold and silver. But I'm more of a gold bug than I'm a silver bug. So, I didn't really take a big, massive haircut, even on Friday or even today. My gold's down a little bit, but the gold I bought was way lower than what it was today. And most of the silver I bought was way lower than where it is today too. So if you're sitting at like $2,000 gold average and you're sitting at $30 silver average, we still have a long ways to go before you're feeling the pain of having maybe made a bad decision. What most people are feeling right now is remorse for not maximizing and selling at the top, which most of us weren't going to sell a whole lot at the top anyway. We might have sold some to change things around, but that's how it goes.
Yeah, which is what I did. I made my strategy. I made my 3 entry points to when I was going to buy. Listening to some of the targets, I planned my number wasn't near 120. I was more around 95. I did not think we would break 100. When it got up there, I was like, man, I'm not sure if I want to do this. Delayed a couple days and missed my opportunity. Was I upset at that? No, because selling was an option. It wasn't a requirement, right? If I was trying to hit a number and I missed that, shame on me. But this was an option. I turned my stuff into platinum. Now I reduced the amount of my stack, but I still gained wealth, right? And so diversification is never a bad idea. Just make sure you ask questions. Don't do it based off of a gut reaction. I looked at platinum for a long time before I got into it and talked to a number of people about how to get out of it. And so you have to build that strategy as well. So again, stick to your strategy, know what's best. And, again, you can play it like an investor, but remember, if you're not really willing to do the work, you're bound to get burned. Tiger, what about you? What are your final thoughts on today's episode?
My final thoughts are exactly what I said early on. My decisions have been made for me because of the no current job. I'm working at trying to get a new one, as I said. Once I have positive cash flow, then my strategy of hold and sell only if I have to pay bills is going to change. Then I'm going to start paying attention to the, when can I buy? And I might try to play by the dip, but I really probably will just do more of what I normally do is when I have a little extra cash, buy it when I can, which will give me the dollar cost averaging strategy, which is really what I've done, and worry about how many ounces I've got instead of how many dollars I got converted into fiat. Sometimes I look at what my ounces convert into fiat dollars at the current moment, but I don't really let it bother me, because when we hit the big peak, for kicks and giggles, I shared with you basically what my fiat worth was, and I kind of giggled about it because I knew that sooner or later silver is going to just do its volatile thing, and then I was out of that peak of fiat dollars, and my big thing was I can pay my bills. Over 5 years ago, if all this happened to me, I'd have been deep doggy doo-doo. So once I get the capital going again, I'm going to start doing that. I don't play that much in the stock market. I do a little bit. I put like $500 in here and there. If I lost $500, yeah, kind of sad, but it's not going to keep me from paying the bills. So, I try to watch people and know more about the mines and about stock markets than what I do. In fact, I had a really good 2 interviews. One's already been released with Jesse Day from Commodity Culture, and one is getting ready to be released by someone that you've already interviewed, Surfer, Rob Keynes. That's getting close to getting ready to be released. And I've got another interview coming up this week with David Morgan. So as I'm talking to them, my understanding of macroeconomics is growing. Like I said, my expertise was always healthcare. Doctors are horrible businessmen. Very few of us can manage both the business and take care of patients. I'm growing because of being a stacker. So that's where I'm at with that, and that's where I want to go.
So you said something I want to address before we wrap this up. Why do we do this? Why?
Because we
And
spend the cash in our checking account too fast.
That's one.
one reason, yeah, right. We all figured out that, oh crap, that doesn't make any sense.
Most of us have wasted money on fun things or pretty things. And, I'm certainly a big fault for that one.
Yeah, but again, what's the whole purpose of having it? So the point is, Tiger, you've had a serious bad run of 2 major infections, dealing with cancer, having to manage and mitigate that risk. And it's like, I'm having to sell, I'm having to sell, I'm having to sell. And folks, the reason that we talk the way that we do, the reason that we have our channels, the reason that we discuss stuff with you is you're not alone. The same shit happens to us, right? We are just like you in different shoes. That's all. We have the same problems. And I've had to tell Tiger, look, dude, you have it. Could you imagine being in a time right now where you didn't have your medals?
Yeah.
It would be horrible. So look at it from the standpoint. It really does take diligence and time to look at it correctly. Stand back. Paula Bloom, my mentor in numismatics, always tells me, remember pareidolia. The mind sees what it wants to see. Beware of that and understand that. Stick to your strategy, go in, perform what you need to do, and leave it. The longer you look at it, the more you'll believe you see stuff that isn't there. So stop doing that. Get in, do your business, get out.
Well,
And
to add
you'll
to
do
that
better.
Frostbyte too, this is the first time I've had a hobby where my wife goes, at least it's worth something. Not just 2 o'clock.
Mine too.
I could melt everything on this desk down and I have at least a hard, solid value to it.
I can tell you the same thing, because once I first started stacking, my wife was jumping down my throat that she thought I was wasting money. And I didn't really quite understand it at the time, because I've wasted money on motorcycles and airplanes and other things. And now she's giving me a hard time about metals. I'm like, to me, it's like, this is the first time I'm actually doing something that helps. And thank God, I've been, I had Yankee like you, Surfer, as a mentor. And during my monthly meetings, it took maybe 2, maybe 3 episodes of monthly meetings before the wife had actually started getting it into her head that, I'm actually doing a different type of savings account with this stuff. And then she started accepting it. Nowadays, because Frosty's talked to me about this, my wife's talked to me about this, you've talked to me about this. For a workaholic man who's valued his self-worth based upon his ability to financially support the family, and then all of a sudden it's taken away from you, it takes away your ability to actually look at yourself like a real man again. And I was all bummed out because I felt like I wasn't. And it took, my wife and you and Frosty to say, yeah, you are a man. You're a man because you prepared for the future.
I thought you were a tiger.
I'm a man tiger. I'm a tiger man.
Well, hey, folks, our time is up tonight. We appreciate all of you. And I hear, some of my other friends say this. Without you, this would be pointless, right? And I love that statement. Coin Show Podcast, go check them out. Also, Surfer, what do you got going on this week?
So I just dropped a video today with Lior Gantz. He's talking about, I'll give you guys a couple hints in it. He called me a week ago about the silver crash and said, I think it's going to crash this week. so he was a little bit late. And he said, I want to come on your show on Monday to get everybody prepared for it. This didn't happen. But when you look at charts and you look at things, if it goes parabolic and it goes straight up, there's a point where it starts to come down. Was it going to be at 120, 130, 140? We don't know, 95. So you got to be prepared for pullbacks, guys. So I'm just going to throw that out there. But this video talks about it. He thinks we're going to have consolidation for a few months, and then we're going to go a lot higher. I've got my live stream on Friday that's public. We'll have some fun there. We'll be talking about the videos we've done recently, the interviews, and just what's going on in the market. And Tiger, is that the one you're coming up on? I can't remember.
What's that?
This next Friday. I know there was a time you were trying to come up on the live stream, but
yeah, I need to work out some techie issues with you about that.
Okay. So anyway, we got to figure that out, but that's what's coming up. I had a slew of interviews that all got scheduled, and I'm in the process of rescheduling interviews right now. Next week, I'm on Andy Scheckman's Little by Little show. So he's interviewing me, and then I'm also interviewing him. So we'll be back with him again. And then I've got Don Direct coming up in March, and then hopefully we'll get a handful of other people here in February. It just takes time to get everybody scheduled when you got to get everything to line up and work it all. But thanks for having me on, guys. It's great. We're all in this together. We're trying to figure this stuff out. No one has all the answers. Some of us are going to, some of us are going to we're all going to make mistakes, but some of us are going to have different strategies. And it's always fun to share those strategies and try to figure out, why does someone believe this? Why does someone believe that? I like my Mercury dimes, and OC Stacker likes his rosies. He doesn't want Mercury dimes because they don't have as much silver. I like Mercury dimes because I think they'll be easier to use in barter down the road because it'll be more recognizable.
I agree on both of those. Depends on who you're talking to.
It might be complete. Yeah, both may be completely right. So I happen to have both.
Yeah.
Well, David Chung says, great show. Thank you so much for this. I want to say one thing before we leave. This is a true story, and it made me laugh because it tells you the need to teach kids about money. So my daughter and I were out. We went to this little place in the mall, and they had this kind of, it's funny. It was a death goth fair that had all sorts of horror kind of memorabilia, and it was a tribute to just all these different designers and stuff that do theatric design and stuff for basically horror films. And it was an interesting thing to go look at. It wasn't anything major. It was in a mall, for heaven's sakes, right? And so while we were there, one of the ladies says, you have a Frostbyte coins. What is Frostbyte coins? I was wearing my little shirt. And I said, oh, it's a numismatic stacking channel. And she goes, you stack? And I said, I do. She goes, that's so cool. And I was like, really? Do you stack? And she goes, yeah, but my CPC or CPS count is low. And I was like, your CPS count? It was like, yeah, my cup stack per second. She thought I was talking about the freaking plastic cup stacking thing that the kids do. And she thought I had a whole channel of some old fart doing that.
Hilarious. Yeah, so, where you go up and down and
yeah. What is the premise of that? And I thought it was so ironic because I looked at her and said, 250 years precious metals have been in our money, and you don't even know what it is. Says a lot about the mentality of the people who are stacking right now. Remember, you know more than a lot of other people. Don't assume that everybody else knows this. It's imperative to surround yourself with people who are knowledgeable. Facebook, Temu, places like that probably aren't the best place to find out a lot of this stuff.
Definitely not Temu, man. That place is trying to scam you all the time.
So do your due diligence. 82 sitting right now. Again, follow your own strategy, but I'll be buying when it gets to around 62. Just saying.
Well, I have 45 likes in the chat. That means we are only going to be giving away a silver dime unless some sort of thing magically comes up that, I get past 50, then we'll give away also a silver quarter. So I'm going to go ahead and harvest the names. So
I just threw my thumb up there to get it up to 48.
okay, let me go ahead and refresh. I'm still looking at a 45.
There's 2 more guys. 2 more in here. Get 2 more thumbs up.
Okay, so let's we get up to 45, 50. We'll go give away
We're at 50.
quarter. Okay, then. So also, I'm
50.
gonna.
Now you're up to what's the giveaway now?
It's 1
75.
time 1 quarter.
Awesome.
And I'll go ahead and throw this in here. This I think is clad just with either brass or gold gilding. So that'll be one. Now, I need you all to go ahead and send me a claiming email within 2 days, 48 hours of this live stream, and then I'll get everything set up for you. A lot of you have probably gotten your gauze just recently from the last number of live streams. So, just to let you know, because I've been getting emails saying thank you, thank you, thank you. So let's go ahead and bring up that screen. And
is this the rigged wheel?
no, Yankee broke his rigged wheel. He tried breaking mine, but Professor Rig DeBordis went ahead and fixed it. But Professor also helped a lot by going ahead and setting Yankee's wheel up for falling apart. When I get done making Rig 9, which will be the final one of the original Rig series, it'll be all explained. So I'm getting ready to take names. Okay. Surfer, you're not in there.
That's okay. I'm good.
All right. And let's go over here. Get rid of the names. Put in the new ones. Okay, guys.
Let's see who the winner is going to be.
Okay, first one will be the dime. Second one will be the quarter, the silver quarter, and the third one will be what I think is clad with a little gold gilding on it.
You should definitely test it first.
Oh, I did. The Sigma does not indicate anything.
Okay, good.
Okay. So we shuffled, and let me turn down the volume before Clark Kent starts complaining. Here we go. David Chung, congratulations. You've just won a silver dime. Please send me a claiming email to thetigerstacker@gmail.com. And Al, would you go ahead and put the email into the chat for everyone? Okay, this one will be for the quarter. And here we go. Now we'll get rid of that. Try it again. Donna Hoffman, congratulations. You've just won a silver quarter.
Congrats.
Congrats.
And now for the clad one with the really cool gold gilding on it.
And that is not gild. It is just dipped in something to look that way. So it is.
You're going to have to speak up. I can't hear you right now.
And it's not gold. It's just plated with something to make it look like it is.
Okay. Oh, Chad Brookman just took it all over. Congratulations, Chad Brookman. Go ahead and, as I said before, send me an email within 2 days. If you postpone, you forfeit it. It'll go back into the list for the next people. Okay. Now, little side note. This guy's got down to up to 25,000 subscribers. So if you haven't subscribed to Surfer, go subscribe to him. Let's try to get him up to 30. Okay. This guy here is at a little over 7,000. Let's try to get him up to 10. Okay. Me, I'm at 3,100. And I'd really like to get up to 5. If you guys can get me up to 5, and I haven't picked a time frame yet, but if you guys can get me up to 5,000, now I'll let you know what the time frame is here in a little while. I'll be willing to give away 5 ounces of silver. And considering today's price, that's something. The question is, am I going to give 1 ounce to 5 people, or one person gets all 5 ounces? Still working on that one. So make sure that you subscribe, because we're all working really hard to make sure that everyone in the community, their finances, their ability to take care of their family is going to be looked after. So please show a little bit of love, spread the love, hit the subscription. Make sure if you hit subscribe, hit the bell notification, leave a comment, make sure that the YouTube algorithm realizes you're not a bot, because if you just hit the subscribe, within hours or days, YouTube's going to take you out. So that's all I got to say. Fellas, thank you very much for coming up, and I've enjoyed this with all of you. So thank you all.
Thank you.
Okay. Good night,
Thank you, everybody.